Hello. Hey, Tom. Hey, Jean. I dream of, what I dream of? Looking for a nice isolate. Huh, what do you dream of? How are you anyway, love? What's going on here? Oh, I've been okay. On my phone's at the moment. There's some outside in the garden. Which happened yesterday. A much needed siesta. Do it, my This is so cool. It's like a eye mask with a. I got headphones in it, but I don't know. And it's got like so it doesn't push it into your eyes. Oh, and ah, I imagine I'll be able to sleep quite well. What are you doing? It's special eye mask. Hang on. Go in there. Yeah, it's really nice today. Yesterday was lovely in the morning, lunchtime, and then it got real, like, absolutely chucked it down. Well, what's going on here? Oh man, something happened to you. Mm-hmm. You've got time first. Mm-hmm. Use the song time. Oh, it's on a pod. Oh, I've done that years ago. Drag race earlier. I was going. Wow. Isn't it near Northampton way? That's better. Oh, well, I just saw. Yeah. But hello. Gonna be a bit of hay fever, a bit of throat that's been rubbing my eyes a bit. Oh, please something's help me. I am from the land of one eye open, one eye closed. Hello. Where are you from? I had a lovely day yesterday. Into the woods and connected to the road. I'm India. Oh, that's nice.
Thierry Henry said, if you need too many touches, you've already...
Oh, nice. Oh, I'm tired. Because what do you think I should listen to to help me sleep? Make it relax, I think. Oh, dear me. Interesting. Look at this. Oh, I realised I had that. Music sounds alright, it's just singing.
Every morning you hear them before you see them. The chickadee in the maple, the cardinals somewhere near the fence, the robins moving through the yard in that low rolling chatter that fills the space between sunrise and the first coffee. You have heard these sounds so many times, they have become part of the silence. Background, familiar, invisible. But they are not background. They are not random. What What is happening in your yard every morning is something researchers have spent decades trying to fully decode, and what they have found changes the way you understand every bird that has ever visited your yard. Those sounds are language, not metaphorically, not in the loose sense we sometimes use when we say animals communicate. Language with structure, with grammar, with specific meaning that other birds understand instantly and act on within seconds. The calls your birds make follow rules. They have syntax. A chickadee does not randomly assemble sounds. It produces sequences.
The Voyager series by Ashana Dean, including Voyager's Volume 1, The Sleeping Abductees, and Voyager's Volume 2, The Secrets of Amenti, presents an in-depth exploration of complex metaphysical concepts, extraterrestrial encounters, and spiritual awakening. Dean's work draws from a range of esoteric and channeled sources, offering listeners unique insights into the nature of human consciousness, the multidimensional universe, and humanity's role within it. These volumes are integral for those interested in expanding their understanding of metaphysical phenomena and exploring the interaction between spiritual and extraterrestrial experiences. Disclaimer: I do not claim to promote the information provided in the following books as factual or false.
What's going
I
on?
find the information in the Voyager series interesting and fascinating, and allow the listener to come to their own conclusions regarding whether this is a work of fiction or factual evidence. It is the listener's responsibility to determine if the information provided is for informational, educational, or entertainment purposes. The contents of Voyager's Volume 1, The Sleeping Abductees, and Voyager's Volume 2, The Secrets of Amenti by Ashana Dean, represents the author's interpretations and channeled information. Listeners are encouraged to approach these works with an open mind, recognizing that the material may challenge conventional perspectives. The views and theories presented are speculative and should not be considered established facts. As with all metaphysical literature, individual discernment is advised, and listeners should integrate this information in a manner that aligns with their personal beliefs and experiences. Dedicated to the guardians of all races and realities, and to the Guardian Alliance for their patience and wisdom, and for the creation of this book. In memory of Richard G. Hergenreeder, beloved Voyager. Preface to Volume 2. For there is nothing hidden except to be revealed, nor is anything kept secret except in order that it may be made known. If any man has ears to hear, let him be listening, and let him perceive and comprehend. Part 4, 22 through 23. Voyager's Secrets of Amenti is a remarkable achievement. The magnitude of the implications fostered by its very existence is, in a word, stupendous. In the inspired writings of India, Voyagers would be regarded as the Shruti, which functions as its own authority, since it is the product of immediate insight into the nature of ultimate reality. Ashiana's experience with the Guardian Alliance represents, in my opinion, a true gnosis, a direct experience with higher intelligence, the direct experience of knowledge, with no loss of resolution. Ashiana, by her own admission, functions here solely as scribe. Voyagers is a product of nearly 30 years of direct, physical, consensual, and most importantly, ongoing contact with pro-human higher intelligence, be they extra, meta, or ultra-terrestrial, hence a gnosis in the truest sense. This gnosis is passed on to the reader, engaging a higher level of cognition or precognition if one is already one step ahead of the game.
I would just like to point out that in this modern world we live in, where you have a packet of something that's usually not even 2/3 full, the humble bag of watches crams the watches in the packet. Smaller bag, more filling. Right, time for the kids.
Voyagers is a precious jewel and Indra's web, spoken of in the Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra, itself a testament in previous times to a profound knowledge and understanding of advanced chelotic morphogenetic science. In the following pages, you will be reawakened to a model of interdimensional physics, time mechanics, DNA construction, and multidimensional identity structure that will revolutionize your comprehension of our world, our universe, and yourselves. These teachings are being returned to us at a most critical juncture in our tenure as embodied souls. In order that you may, as free and proud shapers of your own being, fashion yourself in the form you may prefer, these teachings are submitted. As Rod Sterling, the Twilight Zone, would say, not for your approval, but rather for your consideration. Do consider them carefully, for if most of us remain ignorant of ourselves, it is because self-knowledge is painful and we prefer the pleasures of illusion. As so aptly put, the adornment of the spiritual marriage, knowledge of ourselves teaches us whence we come, where we are, and whither we are going. We come from God, and we are in exile. You, the reader, are about to cross the event horizon of a groundbreaking work of singular significance for Earth and its inhabitants. Voyagers is, quite literally, a roadmap to the stars and beyond. Inside these pages is truth, not revealed, but unveiled, stripped of the distortion, dogma, and elitism still so pervasive within traditional and contemporary works of higher calling. Voyagers establishes a cosmographic paradigm through which all others can be organized and unified, providing a most compelling and impressive body of information regarding the true origins of the human lineage, as well as our hidden, until now, evolutionary destiny. We stand on the threshold of the fulfillment of a covenant made a long time ago in a special pre-existent place. A place known as the Akoma, as Haku, the Mayan Hanabku, the Egyptian Ku, to the Lakotas, Peshla, to the Dorothy in each of us, the Emerald City of Oz, the Heavenly Tula, Tara, home.
Oh.
Prepare for a new level of revelation. Philip L. Gruber, founder and director of Quantum Access Group.
Ooh. Goodbye.
Required reading. The second edition of Volume 2 of the Voyager series has been vastly enlarged to include much important current information about what is happening on planet Earth, up to and including the tragic national events of September 11th, 2001, when hijacked airliners were intentionally crashed into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. To ensure that you have an appropriate understanding of this information, it will be necessary for you to obtain and read, if you have not done so already, the second edition of Voyager's Volume 1. See ordering information on page 580. Specifically, the following bolded sections of Voyager 1, second edition, are essential to understand before proceeding. Introduction. The Azurite Temple of the Melchizedek Cloister Incorporated. Updated. About the author. CDT plates. Emerald Covenant and the Mass Drama. Administrative levels of the Emerald Order Melchizedek Cloister. If the listener is interested in the information that is bolded here, all this information, with the exception of the history, motivation, meaning, and message, is included in Part 1 of my narration of Voyager's Volume 1, The Sleeping Abductees. I will paste a link to my Voyager's Volume 1 narration in the video description box down below for anyone who may be interested in this information. All information for the required reading can be found in Voyager's Volume 1, The Sleeping Abductees. Chapter 1. The Secrets of a Minty. A Minty Transmission, 1998. Throughout Voyager's The Sleeping Abductees, various speakers of the Guardian Alliance have provided you with information pertinent to your times and to the success of your species' evolution. We have provided glimpses of your future, your distant past, and what is taking place behind the scenes of your multidimensional present. All of this data is relevant to various peoples of your times, but there is information not yet addressed that is perhaps the most significant of all, for it will provide you with the missing links of knowledge through which your past, present, and future can be united. We of the Guardian Alliance have an announcement to make. It is a message your species has waited over 800,000 years to hear. Our announcement will be made in later chapters of this book, for without the information contained here within, this announcement would have little meaning for you. In order for you to understand the importance of this message, we must first provide you with a sequential summary of the true history of your evolutionary journey.
There we go.
Within these missing passages of time lives the purpose and process of your evolution as a people. In previous chapters, we have explored the beginnings of your species lineage, beginning with the inception of your race as the Terranusians upon planet Tara in the second harmonic universe, 560 million years ago. This is where your Earth drama began, and the place to which you will eventually be led through the course of your evolutionary progression. To explore your entire history from 560 million years ago to the present would require many books. Here we will simply provide you with the data most important to your purposes for your present evolution. Origins and the Fall. Origins. The first world, Tara. 560 million to 550 million and 750,000 years ago. Approximately 560 million years ago, upon the planet Tara within the second harmonic universe, your Earth is presently in the first harmonic universe. Many ET and metaterrestrial races combine their genetic and energetic makeup to create a master race of beings who will serve as guardians of the planet Tara. The Syrian Council from Harmonic Universe 2, along with several other groups, were appointed directors and overseers of the project. The Terranusium 1 T1 experiment. Metaterrestrials from the 4th and 5th harmonic universes were the founders of this project, working through a race called the Lyrans from the 3rd harmonic universe. The Lyrans created a race of beings in harmonic universe 3 called the Elohim, who would become overseers for the Syrian races in harmonic universe 2. The Elohim became one of the numerous supervisory groups within the Terranusium 1 experiment, due to the Syrian race contributions of genetic identity to the experiment. The Terranusium race evolved for about 8 million years on Tara, with 12 primary subracial divisions among them. Each of the 12 Terranusium subraces carried a genetic slant derived from the 12 primary contributors to the T1 experiment, but all of them carried the unique 12-strand DNA package the T1s were designed to embody. The 12 Terranusium subraces were the Brahman, the Dur-Amen, Atoni, Trini-Ten, Azure-Tan, Keltos, Adami, Utarans, Luri, Saraz, Nizaktai, and the Melchizedeks. After evolving successfully for many years, the Terranusium race began to digress, their genetic code breaking down and their cultures falling into disharmony. Manipulation by and interbreeding with various unrelated ET strains was the primary cause of this digression. About 8 million years ago into their evolution, 552 million years ago, the Terranusium race divided into 2 primary racial strains, the Elanians, sometimes referred to as the Beli Kudem, and the Lumians, frequently called the Adami Kudman. The 2 strains of Terranusium evolved together on one large landmass called Eden, creating 2 cultures known as Elania and Lumia. Both cultures evolved on Tara for about 1 million years, 551 million years ago. Both races carried the original 12-strand DNA genetic code of their Terranusium lineage, and both carried mutations and digressions of that code from interstellar breeding. Cultural disturbances escalated along with the continued digression of the Elanian and Lumian strains, and hostility arose as the Elanians sought dominion over the more passive Lumian culture. Mu, the Lumians, Serez, and the priesthood of Mu. 550,750,000 through 550,700,000 years ago. Keeping a close eye on the Elanian antagonists, about 550,750,000 years ago,
I've been fucking bitten by a mosquito on my foot. That is a bit fucking annoying. So what's going on here is Bristol Baba. There's a very alternative history lesson. If you've got to listen.
Brought on by the increasingly dangerous Elenian experimentation
Wild.
with power generation through Tara's planetary core. The Lumians petitioned assistance from Harmonic Universe 2, HU2, Syrian Council, and the Harmonic Universe 3, Elohim. Under direction of the Syrian Council, the Lumians set up amongst their members an organization called the Council of Mu. Through the Council of Mu, the Lumians moved large numbers of their race across the oceans to a small continent on Tara that was primarily uninhabited by organized culture. They named this continent Mu, and for 50,000 years, 550,750,000 years ago, to 550,700,000 years ago, the Lumians of Mu worked with the Syrian Council to redirect the genetic digression of their race. During this period, the Elohim of Harmonic Universe 3 interbred with the Lumians who carried the Saraz Cherenusium subrace strain in their gene codes, creating a race called the Saraz, which purified the genetic strain of the Lumians of Tara. Descendants of the Saraz with a C later became known as the Saraz with an S, who interacted with Harmonic Universe 1 Earth humans at various periods. The Lumians and Saraz coexisted peacefully on Mu, attending the intergalactic and spiritual business of the Council of Mu. The Saraz created the priesthood of Mu, an egalitarian spiritual collective with a strong matriarchal slant whose practices centered around the teachings of the sacred law of one, or unity consciousness. The Mu priesthood exists to this day and is a primary motivating force within certain Taran communities. The community of Mu continued its evolution through the realigned 12-strand DNA gene code until about 550 million years ago. Alania, Templar Solar Initiates, and the Syrian Rebellion. 550,750,000 through 550 million years ago. Throughout the evolution of Mu, digression continued with the Elenian race, and anti-Lumian sentiment ran high within the power-hungry Elenian elite. The Elenians employed subterranean grid technologies in hopes of bringing the now bountiful continent of Mu under Elenian domain. The Lumians and the Saraz foresaw the cataclysm of Tara that would result from these technologies about 900 years prior to the events. The Saraz tried to warn the Elenians to no avail. Petitions to the Syrian Council to redirect the Elenians had failed, giving rise to the Elenian Rebellion and Lumian-Syrian resistance. The Elenians were controlled by an elite group called the Templar Solar Initiates, who had been entrusted with rulership and guardianship over the Elenian continent by the Syrian Council. The Templar Solar Initiates became sympathetic with the Syrian root race Anunnaki and their Syrian rebellion against the Syrian Council, and refused to follow dictates of the Syrian Council and advisory Elohim, who based their decisions on the teachings of the sacred law of one. Through the Templar Solar Initiates, the power struggle between the Syrian Anunnaki and the Elohim Syrian Council, loyal Syrian Blues, another Syrian root race, was brought to Tara. This period in Elenian history is known as the Syrian Rebellion, and through this power struggle, planet Tara was almost destroyed. Terranates, Mu, and the priesthood of 550,750,000 through 550 million years ago. Certain groups of Elanians became aware that the Templar solar initiates were misusing power in a way that would result in the implosion of Tara's planetary grid.
Yeah.
This group of Elanians approached the Lumians in the Ceres of Mu, asking for assistance, and many of them defected to the territories of Mu. The Ceres interbred with these Elanians, primarily those carrying the Utaran Terranusium subrace genetic line, realigning their digressing genetic code, and these Elanians further interbred with the Lumians. The original Terranusium 12-strand DNA gene code was rebuilt and purified through the Ceres-Lumian-Elanian blend. This revitalized the Terranusium race and became known as the Terranates. The Terranates created the temple and priesthood of upon the continent of Mu. The priesthood of shared practices with the priests of Mu, but developed interests in the more scientific applications of spiritual law, such as portal mechanics. Like the priesthood of Mu, the priests of exist on Tara to this day, and they serve as guardians and gatekeepers of the time portal structures that link Earth to the present-day Tara. During the Syrian rebellion on Tara, the priesthood of stood against the Templar solar initiates of Elania, eventually retreating underground with the people of Mu, unable to stop the Templars from misusing the power of the planetary core. Small wars within the local galactic sectors were fought during these times, which became known as the Taran Wars. Under direction of the Syrian Council and Elohim, the priests of began to prepare for the pending grid implosion. Many people were evacuated to other sympathetic star systems, where they evolved, safely intermingling with other races. Cataclysm of Tara, 550 million years ago. Approximately 550 million years ago, the power generator crystals deep underground in Elania exploded due to the Templar solar initiates' misuse of power from Tara's planetary core. This created a chain reaction of implosions within Tara's planetary grid. Portions of Tara's grid were blown apart and fragmented, becoming detached from the morphogenetic field of the planet. Portions of Elania were immediately destroyed, and the entire planet suffered the effects of rapid pole reversal. For a period of 2 days, Tara ceased to rotate on its axis. It took 10,000 years to restabilize Tara's environment, during which time the few surviving Taran races still on planet retreated permanently underground. Descendants of those civilizations who survived this disaster still flourish within the elaborate underground communities. Surface life also returned to Tara following this 10,000-year period of healing. Because portions of the planet's energy structures had been ripped from the main planetary grid, planet Tara could not continue its evolution of dimensional ascension into the third harmonic universe. Tara could not re-emerge with the energy grid of its Dimension 7 counterpart Gaia until its own grid system was repaired. Tara became trapped in the tracks of time within the second harmonic universe. The fall to Harmonic Universe 1 and the 12 planets, 550 million years ago. The fragments of the Taran planetary grid that became dismembered from Tara's core energy supply rapidly fell in vibration until they could no longer resist the natural magnetic pull of the descending interdimensional energy currents. The planet fragments were pulled into a sun within Tara's universe, vaporized, and the morphogenetic field carried in those fragments was pulled into a black hole at the center of the sun, re-emerged into a galaxy within the lower dimensional fields of Harmonic Universe 1. Entering this system as gaseous substance, this morphogenetic field broke down into 12 pieces, which set up a mini-solar system around a star within an already existing Harmonic Universe 1 solar system. One of the 12 pieces of Tara's fragmented morphogenetic field fused with this sun, while the 11 other pieces began to build up matter density and remanifest their forms through their portions of the morphogenetic field. These planets did not birth into existence in the usual accretion fashion, for they carried with them the organizational imprint of parts of Tara's planetary grid morphogenetic field. These planets did not birth into Harmonic Universe 1, they fell into it, literally. Their original morphogenetic field fell in vibration, reorganized through the morphogenetic field of a star, and remanifested within a slower vibrating dimensional scale. The 12 new planets entering Harmonic Universe 1 550 million years ago are the planets of your local solar system: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Maldak, which imploded to become the asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Nibiru, very long orbit not yet discovered by Earth scientists, and your Sun, the part of Tara's morphogenetic field that fused with this already existing non-Taran Sun. The fragments of Tara became part of the unified field morphogenetic structure of Harmonic Universe 1. The fall of man and the lost souls of Elania, 550 million years ago. The events of Tara's cataclysm became known as the fall of man. This history became interwoven with other events on Earth that occurred since that time, appearing in various forms throughout human mythology. The Adam and Eve drama of biblical stories combine this event as the fall from God's grace and the removal from the Garden of Eden, with other earthly events, including the Dracon infiltration of around 1 million years ago. The stories became a depiction of multi-level events from various time periods, woven together into a symbolic event portrayed in the stories. This was also done in relation to the biblical flood and Noah. The consciousness of the beings who were blown apart in Tara's fall also fell into Harmonic Universe 1. They became ripped from their race morphogenetic field at Tara's core and disengaged from their original soul matrices through which they needed to evolve in order to pass out of the time matrix and dimensional systems and return to source as pure consciousness. The souls of Elania became trapped in time, fragmented as units of consciousness within the unified field of Harmonic Universe 1, and there they would have remained if a rescue mission had not been orchestrated. A Minty rescue mission, the Covenant of Palador, and the Paladorian Tara, 550 million years ago. Just prior to the cataclysm on Tara 550 million years ago, the Ceres, Terranates, and Lumians of Mu devised a plan to rescue the Taran souls that would be lost in Harmonic Universe 1 during the approaching disaster. Being skilled at time portal mechanics and interdimensional portal travel, the Ceres created a plan that the Terranates would fulfill. With the assistance of the Syrian Council, Elohim, and Harmonic Universe 2 Pleiadians, the Terranates formed an agreement with several other Harmonic Universe 2 races called the Covenant of Palador. Through the Covenant of Palador, a rescue mission for the Taran souls of Harmonic Universe 1 was set in motion. Those involved in this agreement, the Syrians, Pleiadians, Terranates, Elohim, Lyrans, Ceres, Lumians, and Elanians became known as the Paladorians. Working through the Brunel Rishi, beings of pure consciousness from Harmonic Universe 5, the Paladorians petitioned further assistance from an entity gestalt within the metagalactic core. This entity is known as Ra, or the Ra Confederacy. Of the 12 primary identity gestalts within the Ra Confederacy, members of its 4 largest gestalts became involved and allowed for the rescue mission to take place. The 4 primary members of the Ra Confederacy involved within the Covenant of Palador are the Azurites, Atone, Ammonites, and the Brigidette. A subgroup of the Brigidae are presently incarnated in your Earth system as members of the Ascended Masters family of Vera-G. Several other groups associated with these three gestalts are also involved with Earth at this time, including the Consciousness Gestalt Azara, and a Harmonic Universe 2 ET race known as the Zar Confederacy. Time travelers in the sphere of Amenti. 550 million years ago, pre-cataclysmic Tara. Using interdimensional portal mechanics, the Ur-Terranates of the Covenant of Palador time traveled into Harmonic Universe 1 to a time-space coordinate position just after the cataclysm of Tara and the fall of man. Once on Earth, with the help of the Syrian Council, this group of Ur-Terranates transmuted their body forms into pure energy, chelotic science, and merged into a Gestalt energy field of consciousness, which served as a morphogenetic field or the 12-strand DNA Terranusium race prototype. Also contained within this morphogenetic field were the chelotic time codes, electrotonal frequency patterns of the pre-cataclysmic time-space coordinate of Tara, which would allow Tara to reassemble the lost portions of its grid into the fabric of time. With the assistance of the Ra Confederacy, this gestalt of consciousness, genetic, and planetary morphogenetic field was entered into the remaining morphogenetic field of Earth through the 11th and 14th dimensions. This morphogenetic field of consciousness energetically took on the shape of a sphere and was called the Sphere of Amenti, named after the portions of Tara's morphogenetic field that contained the imprint for Mu and its inhabitants. Amenti was part of Tara's planetary core that connected energetically to the portals upon the continent of Mu. By placing the Sphere of Amenti within the Earth's core, a wormhole or portal link was established between Earth's core in Dimensions 2 and Tara's core in Dimensions 5. Though numerous other portals between Earth and Tara existed, these had become unstable and their operations unpredictable following the fall. The Sphere of Amenti would create a stable portal structure that, once operational, would stabilize the other portals and allow open transit between Earth and Tara for beings possessing genetic codes that could endure portal transit. The link into the space-time of Tara pre-fall past. With this sphere placed within the Earth as Earth re-evolved through dimension back into the Tara grid following the morphogenetic imprint from the sphere, a link between the future Tara and its pre-cataclysmic past would be re-established. Tara's past would be reattached to the time matrix grid and Tara's future time cycles. Through the Sphere of Amenti, a bridge was constructed between Tara's pre-cataclysmic past and future track cycles of time. When a planet undergoes such a trauma, having a portion of its own grid blown apart, not only does it lose the portions of its evolutionary history stored within the cellular memory of the parts that blew apart, it also loses a portion of its energetic thrust. Without this thrust, the planet cannot evolve out of its harmonic universe and into the next. The planet, and most life forms on it, become trapped in the fabric of time. The Sphere of Amenti not only gave hope for the continued evolution of human Terranusium lineage, it held the hopes of ascension and continued evolution for Earth, Tara, and their seventh dimensional counterpart, Gaia. If one was trapped in time, they would all be trapped. The only other option available in such cases of planetary morphogenetic field fragmentation is that of a host matrix transplant, as previously discussed in relation to people, and this is exceedingly difficult to achieve on a planetary level. Each of the 12 planets in Harmonic Universe 1 that emerged as a result of Tara's fragmentation received a similar morphogenetic sphere from the Paladorians to fulfill the same purpose. But here we are only concerned with the Sphere of Amenti, as through it Earth became an ascension planet, able to achieve dimensional ascension and evolution. the Sphere of Amenti and Soul Ascension rescue mission from Tara, 550 million to 250 million years ago. The Sphere of Amenti was entered into Earth's core within the second dimensional frequency bands, often called the Cave of Creation, about 550 million years ago from a position in Harmonic Universe 2 space-time that existed before the Earth existed within that Harmonic Universe 2 time track. The rescue mission for Tara's lost souls was begun before those souls became lost in terms of linear time. Such things are quite practical within the structure of the time matrix. Through the Covenant of Palador and the Sphere of Amenti, the souls of Earth could re-evolve back into their original 12-strand DNA body type. This process can be viewed as the Paladorians creating new bodies and morphogenetic blueprints for the now formless consciousness fragments of the fallen souls. The Sphere of Amenti morphogenetic field allowed for the Earth-Terranates to enter incarnational cycles on Earth, pick up the fragments of consciousness from the lost souls by pulling their energetic particles from the Harmonic Universe 1 unified fields into the DNA, merging the consciousness of the soul fragments with the embodied Earth-Terranate consciousness, thereby allowing this composite identity to evolve through a sentient life form back into its original soul matrix, the Terranusium 12-strand prototype. This evolutionary plan was not immediately set in motion. Though the Sphere of Amenti was set within Earth's morphogenetic field nearly 550 million years ago, the Earth grid had to evolve and pick up grid speed before the Sphere of Amenti could begin birthing its new. Between 250 and 550 million years ago, various other species seeded by Harmonic Universe 1 ET visitors evolved on Earth, some of whom became members of your plant, animal, and insect kingdoms. Various groups of etheric beings, without matter density, also spent time on your planet. The races of the Sphere of Amenti finally began to appear on Earth about 250 million years ago. Before their appearance, more intergalactic wars were fought by races who did not want the Covenant of Palador to be fulfilled. These wars were primarily fought on Tara, becoming part of a long history of confrontations that were simply termed the Taran Wars. Once the Earth territory was secured, the Terranates of the Sphere of Amenti began birthing on Earth. This began what came to be known as the Terranusium 2, or T2 experiment. This represented the seeding of the 12 tribes, out of which your present human lineage has emerged. The Halls of Amenti, the cloistered races of Parallel Earth, the Second World, Rescue Mission, Stage 1, 250 million to 25 million years ago. From the Sphere of Amenti, 5 smaller spheres were created, which became the morphogenetic patterns for 5 races known as the cloistered races. Collectively, the 5 cloistered races were called the Paladorians, as they represented the beginning of the fulfillment of the Covenant of Palador. They represented the earthly counterparts to the larger Paladorian group from Harmonic Universe 2. Of the original Terranusium 1 12-strand DNA package, each Paladorian race held the morphogenetic imprint for DNA strands 7 through 12, which held the electrotonal frequencies corresponding to dimensions 7 through 12, plus the imprint for strand 1. And each of the 5 groups carried the imprint for 1 additional DNA strand corresponding to dimensions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The cloisters served as guardians for the evolution of the additional DNA strand to which they were assigned. Each race held 8 strands of DNA manifest within the body structure. The 5 cloistered races did not possess gender, nor did they originally possess the degree of matter density with which you are familiar. Density of form developed over time throughout the course of their evolution on Earth, between 250 million and 25 million years ago. The 5 5 cloistered races were: number 1, the Ur-Antrians, brown-skinned, strand number 2. Number 2, the Brenoa, red-skinned, strand number 3. Number 3, the Hibaru, white-skinned, strand number 4. Number 4, the Melchizedeks, yellow-skinned, strand number 5. Number 5, the Uniceti, black-skinned, strand number 6. The cloistered races populated the earth for many generations, creating various racial mixtures through which many of the lost souls of Tara were able to ascend. This period of great civilization became known as the Second World, 250 to 25 million years ago, within your present Native American cultures. Many of these souls ascended. Those who digress return to the sphere of Amenti to rebirth on Earth in the particle universe as members of the root races. The first world represented the original Terranusium cultures on Tara, 560 to 550 million years ago. The Paladorian cloister races left no remnants in your present world, for they evolved within the faster-moving time bands of Earth, within the anti-particle universe. The morphogenetic fields of those races were then drawn into your particle Earth, and out of these came the next evolutionary stage. The first and second etheric root races of Gaia, Rescue Mission Stage 2, 25 million through 20 million years ago. Before manifestation into embodiment on your Earth, the 5 cloistered races divided into 2 groups. One group held the DNA imprint for half of the first strand of DNA, which corresponded to Dimensions 1 frequencies. The other group held the remaining half of the first strand. This created polarization and gender within the cloistered race morphogenetic field. Both groups held the dimensional codes, strands of 7 through 12. These 2 groups were seated on Gaia, the 7th dimensional harmonic universe 3 counterpart to Tara and Earth. These 2 races were the first 2 root races, the Polarians of Gaia and the Hyperborneans of Gaia's anti-particle double. These beings were of a much less dense or etheric nature, but through their evolution on Gaia, 25 to 20 million years ago, the pathways of evolution through dimensional ascension were reopened for the lost souls of Tara. These races anchored the morphogenetic fields of Dimensions 7 through 12 into Dimensions 1 and Earth. Through their evolution, the one strand of the 12-strand DNA package was pulled together in Earth's particles and connected to the Terranusium morphogenetic field. The Halls of Amenti, Rescue Mission Stage 3, 25 million years ago. The morphogenetic consciousness of the 5 cloistered races held within the sphere of Amenti began the 3rd stage of seeding humans on Earth 25 million years ago. They opened the sphere of Amenti within the Earth core in Dimensions 2, which opened a portal bridge to Tara's core in Dimension 5, a portal that linked the Earth of 25 million years ago with pre-cataclysmic Tara of 550 million years ago. Working with the priesthoods of Ur and Mu on Tara, the consciousness of the 5 cloistered races created 5 other portal bridge extensions from the center of the sphere of Amenti, each of the 5 opening into dimension fields 2 through 6. Dimensional fields represent positions in space-time within the time matrix, stages a planet or being will pass through in its evolutionary progression of dimensional ascension. The 6 portals from the sphere of Amenti, the original one to Tara's past and 5 new ones into various stages of Earth's future, link Tara's past through various time periods on Earth into Tara's future, creating a new track in time through which Earth could re-evolve into the 5th dimensional frequency bands and merge with Tara. Once this merger was accomplished, Earth would become Tara. New lands would open up within and emerge upon Earth, and Tara would reclaim the energetic thrust lost in the fall so evolution into the seventh dimensional Gaia could continue. The 6 portals in the sphere of Amenti also allowed the 5 cloistered races to incarnate into dimensional bands, time fields 2 through 6, pulling into their consciousness and body forms the fragmented consciousness of the lost souls from each of those dimensional bands. The time codes, frequency patterns, from the first dimensional strand of DNA that had been built up through the root races 1 and 2 would link into the frequencies of dimensions 2 through 6. The consciousness within the sphere of Amenti would leave the morphogenetic field and express into manifestation as root races within each of these dimensional bands, building up into the DNA pattern strand 2 through 6. Through this pattern of building DNA through time, incarnates within each time period dimensional band would be able to pull together the frequencies of their dimensional strand through a series of 24 incarnations, 12 cycles. Link with the morphogenetic field of the cloistered race, pick up strands 7 through 12 from the cloister, pass through the other cloisters and pick up the remaining root race strands, rebundling the 12-strand DNA package. As the 12 DNA strands were assembled, the body form of the incarnate would progressively transmute into a less dense state and ascend to Harmonic Universe 2 on Tara. Originally, only one Earth body was needed for this process. DNA patterns with the 12 cycles in one very long lifetime, and then transmute and ascend. The ascension occurred through the portal from the sphere of Amenti to which the incarnate's dimensional band/time period was connected. Once passing through its dimensional portal into the sphere of Amenti, the incarnate could enter one of the other portal bridges and appear on Tara in a future space-time coordinate, becoming free from Harmonic Universe 1. Through this process, the consciousness of Tara's fragmented parts would be returned to Tara's planetary grid piece by piece, progressively de-densifying the matter particles of Earth and transmuting them back into Tara's grid. As the lost souls returned to Tara, so did the lost portions of Tara's morphogenetic field. Though the dynamics of this process are complicated, the principle is simple. The portals within the sphere of Amenti served as a time portal structure through which the lost substance energetic thrust of Tara could be returned, and the lost souls of Tara could return to their original identity as souls incarnated upon the planet Tara. In ancient Taran history, this planet had once, long ago, eons before the 560 million years ago Terranusium seeding, been located within the first harmonic universe and had successfully evolved into the 5th dimension and 2nd harmonic universe. The fall represented a portion of Tara being thrown back into its own past, through which it had to re-evolve in order for the planet to evolve into its natural future. The portals within the sphere of Amenti operated as a warp in time through which re-evolution could take place more quickly. The human lineage is an intimate part of that re-evolutionary plan, and this plan is the underlying hidden dynamic and purpose for the present human evolution. This plan is part of a larger Taran Gaian evolutionary plan which ultimately will lead to all consciousness involved returning to its source. The sphere of Amenti contains the purposes and mechanics of humanity's evolutionary blueprint. The time portal structures within the sphere of Amenti regulate the processes of humanity's dimensional ascension, evolution, or return to God. The portals within the morphogenetic field of the sphere of Amenti are known as the Halls of Amenti. They are the dimensional passageways one must pass through in order to ascend from Earth, out of the time matrix, and dimensionalize reality. The Halls of Amenti have been a closely guarded secret since the time of your inception on Earth, and the priests of and Mu, their earthly descendants in the ET and metaterrestrial ancestors of your Terranusium lineage, from harmonic universes 2 through 5, have been the guardians of this secret since the time of its inception, 550 million years ago. The staff of Amenti blue flame morphogenetic field, the ivory gates of Tara, 25 million years ago. Once the halls of Amenti were created 25 million years ago, the priests of on Tara drew out from Tara's fifth dimensional core a pattern of frequency that represented the morphogenetic field for the entire planetary grid structure. They removed from Tara the morphogenetic field through which Tara drew its energy imprint for its grid-line structure and matter form. By removing this form-holding energy field from Tara's core, Tara could no longer build a bridge of frequency between its core and Gaia's core at the 8th dimension metagalactic core. This removal of Tara's interior morphogenetic field was done out of necessity. If the morphogenetic field had remained within Tara's core, Tara's progression of dimensional ascension into the third harmonic universe would have continued, up to a point. When the planetary grid of Tara had pulled in the remaining frequency bands from the unified fields of dimensions 5 and 6 through the morphogenetic field at its core, it would next begin to pull in the frequencies of the 7th dimension and begin its ascent into Gaian planetary grid structure. This is the natural path of evolution for a planet. However, if the 7th dimensional frequency bands entered and expanded Tara's morphogenetic field, certain portions of these frequencies could not plug into the grid lines of the planet as they needed to do, because portions of these grid lines had been ripped apart during the fall event. The energy carrying the frequencies of D7 that could not pass into the framework of the planet's energetic structure would build up within the morphogenetic field of Tara's core, eventually causing the entire grid system and the planet to explode. The morphogenetic field of Tara had to be temporarily removed from the planet's core, which would leave Tara with the ability to draw energy through its grid from the unified fields of dimensions 4 through 6, but not allow any higher frequency energies to enter into its grid system. This meant that Tara would be trapped in the time bands of Harmonic Universe 2, unable to evolve out of those frequencies until its morphogenetic field had been returned to the planetary core. The planet had to remain connected to its morphogenetic field in order to retain its form, but the field could not be stored within the planet's structure. The morphogenetic field of Tara had to be placed within the portions of their original morphogenetic field that had been blown apart, broken down among the 12 Harmonic Universe 1 planets. Each of the 12 planets would hold a portion of Tara's morphogenetic field, and Tara could draw in sustaining energy from each of those areas. Meanwhile, the other planets would process the dimensional frequency patterns that Tara could not synthesize. Once a Harmonic Universe 1 planet pulled in its portion of the higher dimensional frequencies, it would then undergo dimensional ascension back into Tara's grid, bringing with it its portion of the Taran morphogenetic field. Tara could not ascend to Harmonic Universe 3 and become Gaia until each one of its Harmonic Universe 1 planets completed the manifestation of their portion of the morphogenetic field and ascended back into the Taran grid. The time when this will occur is many millions of years in your future. But each planet in your solar system has its part to play in this program. Each planet receives its portion of the Taran morphogenetic field. Earth received its portion 25 million years ago when the halls of Amenti were constructed. The 5 cloistered races of the sphere of Amenti retrieved their frequency pattern 25 million years ago. This pattern of energy/morphogenetic field had the appearance of a standing wave pattern, composed of 4th and 5th dimensional frequencies, and thus appearing as blue in color. Visually, this standing wave pattern looks like an electric blue flame with a pale shade of green, several inches in height. The blue flame, which constitutes Earth's portions of Tara's morphogenetic field, was brought into the sphere of Amenti by the 5 cloistered races in the priesthood of and Mu. The 5-dimensional frequency patterns held in the blue flame allowed for the whole open so the seeding and evolution of the 5 remaining root races could begin on Earth. The flame was stored within the spheres of Amenti, and as long as it was there, the portals between Earth's dimensional time periods and Tara remained open. The souls of Earth could ascend out of Harmonic Universe 1 incarnational cycles and continue their evolution through Tara. The blue flame became known as the Staff of Amenti, which is the item referred to in your Bible as the Staff of God, of the rod and the staff. The rod represents the standing wave pattern within Earth's core in Dimension 2, orange-gold in color, and composed of the frequency patterns of Dimensions 1, 2, and 3. The blue flame staff of Amenti was composed of frequency patterns of Dimensions 4, 5, and 6, and allowed Tara's morphogenetic field to link with the double flame at Gaia's core, the violet and pale gold flames that would allow Gaia to link with the white gold flame of the metagalactic core. When we speak of the colored flames, we are referring to the multiple bands of frequency of which the morphogenetic fields are composed. Colors represent the spectra of light. Light represents the manifestation of patterns of dimensionalized electrotonal frequency. Through linking the frequency bands of dimensions 1 through 7 within the morphogenetic field, a planet or a person can ascend/evolve out of the matter-based systems and into pure sentient consciousness. This is the evolutionary process. So the blue flame staff of Amenti, stored within the time warp morphogenetic field of the sphere of Amenti, represents the key to the evolution of Earth and the human lineage, and one of the keys to the evolution of the planets in your solar system, Tara and Gaia. The staff of Amenti is the gateway into Tara's morphogenetic field. Whether the staff is held within Tara's core or within the sphere of Amenti at Earth's core, it represents the gateway to which the halls of Amenti lead. One can pass into the halls of Amenti, but must pass through the blue flame in order to transmute form and appear on Tara. In later Egyptian mystery schools, the blue flame gateway became known as the Gates of Ivory, which became translated in biblical terms as the pearly gates of heaven. In each case, the writings referred to the blue flame staff of Amenti, the energetic gateway to Tara. Needless to say, the sphere of Amenti and the staff which allows the halls of Amenti to open into Tara are quite valuable commodities. Every human on Earth now is in some way energetically connected to the race morphogenetic field within the sphere of Amenti, and it is through the halls of Amenti, or through the Taran morphogenetic sphere within one of the other 11 planets in your solar system, that you must ascend to fulfill your evolutionary imprint as souls and return to your creator/creative source. Root races, cloistered races. Forming of the 5 physical root races in their cloisters, blueprints for evolution through DNA assembly. Rescue mission stage 4, 25 million years ago. After the staff of Amenti was set within the sphere of Amenti at Earth's D2 core, the forming of the 5 remaining root races began. The 5 cloistered races within the morphogenetic field of the sphere polarized, splitting their energy fields, each creating 2 smaller morphogenetic fields within the sphere of Amenti. The 10 new spheres collectively held the blueprint for the DNA strands 1 through 12. Each of the 5 cloistered races was responsible for the evolution of 1 pair of these new morphogenetic fields. Each sphere became the morphogenetic field for 1 root race, plus its companion cloister race that would simultaneously manifest into physical expression on Earth during the time periods that corresponded to the dimensional DNA strand to which each race was appointed. These 5 morphogenetic fields became root races 3 through 7, through which DNA strands 2 through 6 would be assembled. Each root race was responsible for evolving/assembling one strand of DNA, while its companion cloister race would hold the imprint of that strand, plus strands 7 through 12. The cloister race would appear first, and through this race its root race would emerge. The cloistered race broke down into 5 cloistered subraces, and each subrace further broke down into 5 cloistered families. The root race would then break down into 7 subraces, and each of the 7 subraces would further break down into 7 families. Soul fragments from the dimension that corresponded to the DNA strand of the root race would be pulled from the unified field of that dimension into the body form, progressively pulling the frequency bands of that dimension into the DNA until all the frequencies of that dimension were assembled into the morphogenetic field of the body. This process was to be accomplished within 24 incarnations, i.e., 212 cycles, that were lived in one body. With the morphogenetic field in the sphere of Amenti holding the pattern for the body form, souls trapped within that dimension could begin merging their consciousness with the new body form, and through 24 cycles of incarnation pull their consciousness into a pattern that vibrated high enough to merge with the sphere of Amenti. Soul fragments would incarnate once, then transmute through each of the 7 families of its subrace, then through each of the 5 cloistered families of its cloistered subrace, building up the lower frequency patterns, the base tones, of that dimension into the DNA through its first 12 transmutations within the families. Next, the now more evolved soul would then transmute into each of the 7 subraces of its root race, then into each of the 5 cloistered subraces of its cloistered race, building up the higher frequency patterns, the overtones of that dimension into the DNA. In the final transmutation, in which all the frequency patterns for that dimension were pulled into the DNA and the completed strand assembled, the incarnate then carried the full base tone pattern of its root race and the particle overtone of its cloistered race within the DNA. In this final phase, the incarnate's body, DNA, and consciousness would transmute, the base tones and overtones within the DNA strand merging to create a resonant tone through which the identity could merge with the cloistered race morphogenetic field and the sphere of Amenti, where it would pick up the remaining activation DNA codes, overtones from the cloister. The cloister race held the higher frequency DNA codes/overtones for that dimension, which match the base tone frequency patterns of the body double in the parallel Earth. These are called the activation codes, as they allow the DNA particles to merge with their antiparticles, creating transmutation of the matter particles and antiparticles, through which the DNA strands 7 through 12 could plug into the operating genetic code. The root races held the lower frequency base tone codes of this Earth. Once both sets of the DNA codes were assembled in the DNA through the 24 transmutations, the overtone activation codes from the cloister would allow the incarnate to enter its cloister morphogenetic field within the sphere of Amenti, where DNA strands 7 through 12 would plug into the activation codes. This would open the morphogenetic field of the Palladorian Collective, the 5 cloistered races, where the codes of the other root races could be assembled and the full 12-strand DNA pattern would be restored. As this process of DNA activation took place, the incarnate was enabled to enter the blue flame morphogenetic field of Tara with its consciousness, which began activation of the DNA strands 7 through 12 within the body. This process increased the rate of pulsation of the matter particles of the body into harmonic universe 2 patterns, which allowed the incarnate to turn its body into light, pass through the halls of Amenti as pure energy, then remanifest within a less dense version of that body upon Tara. The 24 transmutations were lived in one body, which progressively transmuted as the DNA assembled, until later genetic distortion. Originally, the human body was designed to transmute and ascend, not die and reincarnate. The 12 cycles of transmutation later became 24 cycles of incarnation, or birth and death, through which the DNA would assemble as the consciousness passed from one life to another. The original human body was immortal. The first seeding, the third world, 25 million to 5.5 million years ago. The pattern for the evolution of the 5 remaining root races was set in motion 25 million years ago, and the first wave of souls moving out of the Paladorian morphogenetic field and into physical incarnation. The 5 cloistered races were entered into Earth in various geographical locations on the Earth. Through budding, fission, and replication, the 5 cloistered families each manifested 6 male and 6 female beings on Earth, the same number on the parallel antiparticle Earth. So in the first wave of physical creation on Earth, 60 human beings were manifested in adult form out of the cloistered races morphogenetic field. Each of the 5 cloistered races began with a family of 12 humans, 6 male, 6 female. They entered Earth together with equal standing. The brown Ur-Antrian, the red Brunoa, the white Hebrew, the yellow Melchizedek, and the black Uniceti races. Each population's built up through this lineage. After about 10 million years of evolution, 25 to 15 million years ago, the third root race was entered through peoples of the Ur-Antrian cloister. The third root race, and first physical root race to appear on Earth, were the Lemurians. They were a brown race that appeared about 15 million years ago, who were assigned to assembling the second strand of DNA. Following the Lemurians and their 7 subraces and 49 families was the second infusion of the Brunoa cloistered race and their 5 subraces and 25 families. They entered through the peoples of their first incarnational wave about 12 million years ago. Entering through the peoples of the Brunoa cloister came the 4th root race, the Elanians, and their subraces and families. The Elanians appeared about 9 million years ago, a red-skinned race who were responsible for assembling DNA strand number 3. The 5 cloistered races and the Lemurian and Elanian root races evolved together on Earth between 25 million to 5.5 million years ago, developing high culture and much diversification. Incarnates who kept the integrity of their genetic code transmuted through each of the races and then ascended within their immortal bodies through the halls of Amenti. This period in time is known as the first seeding and represents the third world and Native American tradition. The Electric Wars. The Electric Wars and the Paladorian Resistance Entity Wars. 5,509,000 through 5,508,100 years ago. During the course of the first seeding, all went well, as many soul fragments from Harmonic Universe 1 Earth successfully ascended through the halls of Amenti, back into Tara. But many members of the races from the first seeding had also begun to digress through animal interbreeding in contact with Harmonic Universe 1 ETs, some losing the ability of genetic transmutation and thus their immortality. About 5,509,000 years ago, members of the Syrian Anunnaki race from Harmonic Universe 2, along with several other groups of ETs and metaterrestrials from the higher harmonic universes, wanted to stop the evolution of the earthly races and abandon the Terranusium 2 12-tribe experiment, for fear that the mutation genetic code of the 12 tribes would contaminate the races of Tara as they ascended through the halls of Amenti. Many Harmonic Universe 2 species did not want the digressive human element to return to Tara, for they were already creating damage within the energetic systems of Earth, and those of Tara needed protection from such activities. Numerous other groups simply wanted Earth territories for their own purposes. The resistance groups began a war with the Elohim from Harmonic Universe 3, and those of the Covenant of Palador in Harmonic Universe 2. Entities of the higher universes descended upon Earth, and great battles of pure energy were fought in Earth's local galaxy and within Earth's atmosphere. These events became known as the Electric Wars. The wars lasted around 900 years as entities of those opposing groups battled for control over Earth's natural portal system in the sphere of Amenti. The human races caught in this battle either ascended to Tara through the halls of Amenti or were relocated to other Harmonic Universe 1 planets with the help of the Elohim and Harmonic Universe 2 Paladorians. Those who lost their immortal genetic codes and did not leave Earth perished, along with many animal life forms, as Earth's planetary environment was thrown into chaos. Earth would have been destroyed if the Brunel from Harmonic Universe 5 had not intervened. The Seal of Amenti and the end of the Electric Wars. 5,508,100 years ago. The Brunel entities negotiated a treaty between these opposing factions. In the agreement, the root races of Earth would be allowed to evolve, but the halls of Amenti, the portals between Earth and Tara, would be sealed to humans until the mutations within the genetic codes of the root races 3 and 4, which had contaminated the morphogenetic fields, could be reversed. In terms of souls evolving out of Harmonic Universe 1, the sealing of the halls of Amenti meant that they could evolve into the morphogenetic field of their cloister race and pick up DNA strands 7 through 12, but they could not pass through the cloister morphogenetic field of their root race into the collective Paladorian morphogenetic field, where DNA strands of the other root races, strands 4 through 6, could be assembled. Without the imprint frequency patterns of strands 4 through 6, the incarnate soul could not plug into strands 7 through 12 into the operational genetic code. The halls of Amenti were sealed to the human lineage by removing from the morphogenetic fields of the 3rd and 4th cloistered races. The activation code/overtones that would allow the particles and antiparticles of the body to merge, transmute, and assemble strands 7 through 12 into the operational DNA. This morphogenetic alteration effectively sealed the particles of the physical body out of the etheric body, which is the antiparticle body, making the final transmutation of the cloister overtone codes 7 through 12 impossible. This manifested as an energetic block between the physical and etheric bodies within the human bioenergetic auric field, and a sealing out of the primary D1 overtones within the base chakra of the human, an auric configuration still carried today within the contemporary human. It also created perception of duality between consciousness and body for those bearing this genetic configuration. Normally, an incarnate would build up the DNA strand of its root race and then build up the activation strands from its cloister race, which would allow it to pull strands 7 through 12 into manifestation from the cloister morphogenetic field. The 7th strand, a primary base tone strand, which contained the frequencies of all the strands below it, would plug into the single strand assembled through the cloister, then assemble all the other root race strands as their frequency patterns were contained within the 7th strand. Once strands 1 through 7 were assembled, an interdimensional resonant tone, 3 resonant tones, was created. The body could then turn into light, pass through the blue flame into the sphere of Amenti, and remanifest on Tara, where assembly of strands 8 through 12 would continue. By removing one of the activation code/overtone frequency patterns from the morphogenetic field of the cloister, the human incarnate could not plug into the 7th DNA strand, which meant that the incarnate could not assemble the strands of the other root races so it could transmute into light to pass through the blue flame. Humans carrying this code distortion became trapped in their matter bodies within Harmonic Universe 1, and the supply of transmuting energy available to the matter body became finite, as the DNA strands that would have fed the body with higher frequency energies were no longer operational. When the body reached its genetic capacity for assembling frequency, then the physical structure would begin to deteriorate as the consciousness was transferred back into the morphogenetic field. Following this morphogenetic distortion, the consciousness would birth into its root race, complete the 12 family and 12 subrace transmutation cycles, then run into the genetic frequency block. The body would die, and the incarnate would pass into the morphogenetic field for its cloister, then have to rebirth into another body within the next root race. After completing the transmutation cycles of the fourth root race, the incarnate would pass into its cloister's morphogenetic field, then have to wait until the fifth root race manifestation cycle had begun before it could complete its final incarnation into the Aaron root race and release the seal of Amenti. Once assembling the fourth DNA strand through the fifth root race incarnation, the seal of Amenti would release from the DNA strand 1, and the activation code / overtones from the fifth cloister would plug in, assembling the fifth, sixth, and seventh strands, creating an interdimensional resonant tone. Then the body could turn into light, pass through the blue flame, and remanifest on Tara to continue evolution. The seal of Amenti made it necessary to incarnate 3 times. Once within the root races 3, 4, and 5, in order to complete the dimensional ascension process into Harmonic Universe 2. After the sealing of the halls of Amenti, the sphere of Amenti at Earth's core became the collector of souls awaiting rebirth into the fifth root race through which the seal of Amenti would be lifted, so they could ascend and be set free. Following the Electric Wars, the third and fourth root races would have to be reseeded on Earth, and the new seeding would carry with it the seal of Amenti. The halls of Amenti were not in themselves sealed or closed. They were only sealed to incarnates carrying the altered genetic strain. Some ET hybrid strains of the humans in exile in other planetary systems, who did not have the seal of Amenti genetic distortion, returned to Earth following the Electric Wars to pass through the halls of Amenti. It was then discovered that a much greater problem had occurred as a result of the Electric Wars. The seal of Pallador, pole tilt, quick freeze, sphere of Amenti placed in D4, first major Earth flood, 5.5 million year old wall in time, 5.5 million years ago. Summary. As a result of the damage from the Electric Wars, the Elohim had to place the sphere of Amenti in D4, creating a fourth dimensional frequency block within the second and third DNA strands, sealing root races 3 and 4 out of their morphogenetic field / soul matrices, creating buildup of soul fragments in D2, D3, and D4 that would have to integrate into root race 5 consciousness. This created the subconscious mind D2 emotional body, which would draw in elemental Lemanian / Lemurian root race 3 soul fragments, a D3 egotistical mind that would draw in Elanian Atlantean root race 4 soul fragments, and a D4 astral mind body that would draw in soul fragments of root race 3 and 4 from the astral plane. Manifested as an extra D4 frequency pattern within the second and third DNA strands, a blockage within the second and third chakras through which their energies can only merge through the fourth chakra, and as an energetic barrier between the frequencies of the second, third, and fourth dimensions within the bioenergetic auric field. This created separation between the emotional, mental, and astral identity aspects. Race 5 souls became responsible for integrating the soul fragments of the Lemanian and Atlanteans of the second seeding and the Atlanteans and Lemurians of the third seeding, which manifest as blockages within the second emotional body, third mental body, and fourth astral body chakras and corresponding levels of the auric field. The seal is released through assembly of the fourth DNA strand and integration of soul fragments, which must occur before seal of Amenti can release from DNA strand 1. Human consciousness lost awareness of its relationship to Earth in the higher dimensions, and its species evolutionary memory, and souls of root races and cloisters from the third and fourth races could only evolve through the fifth root race. Auric configuration remains in present-day human descendants of root races 3 and 4, and within Aaron root race 5. The present Aaron root race is now responsible for integrating the soul fragments of their Lemanian / Lemurian and Erdantrean and Brinoa cloister ancestors from the second and third seeding. The air in root race is also responsible for integrating the antiparticle overtones emitted by the seal of Amenti, which appear as a buildup of electrical particles within the etheric body called miasms, which distort the natural functioning of the chakra system and accelerate the manifestation of physical disease. The seal of Pallador must be released before the seal of Amenti can be released, both achieved by assembling the full fourth DNA strand. For a period of time following the end of the electric wars, Earth could not sustain life. For over 4,000 years, Earth was plagued by erratic weather patterns, tectonic shifting, and climatic anomalies. Earth experienced a slow, partial pole shift reversal and tilted several degrees on its axis between 5,508,100 and 5,504,000 years ago, as a result of damage done to Earth's energetic grid and portal systems during the electric wars. Numerous ET races visited the planet during its most stable periods, some serving as guardians over the sphere of Amenti. Various animal forms were again reseeded by visiting races. Approximately 5,504,000 years ago, a sudden, final shift in Earth's grid as its poles realigned caused a quick freeze ice age to occur, which wiped out most life forms on the planet except for some of those residing in deep caverns beneath the seas. Following this shift, the vibrational rate of Earth's grid dropped swiftly, and it could no longer hold the higher frequencies of the sphere of Amenti at its core. If the sphere of Amenti were not removed, the Earth would explode. In order to avoid planetary destruction, the Elohim of Harmonic Universe 3 and the Ra Confederacy entity families detached the sphere of Amenti morphogenetic field from Earth's core in D2 5.5 million years ago. It was placed in a secure position in deep space within the fourth dimensional frequency bands. Because the sphere was placed within the D4 frequency bands, it acquired a fourth dimensional frequency seal, which meant that souls who had not yet assembled their fourth strand of DNA could no longer merge with their root race morphogenetic field / soul matrix, or that of their cloister. Root races 3 and 4, and their cloister races, who were to be reseeded on Earth with the seal of Amenti in their genetic code, could not evolve to assemble the fourth strand, as this strand was assembled through birthing through the fifth root race. This fourth dimensional seal on the sphere of Amenti became known as the Seal of Pallador, as it sealed the races out of the Palladorian morphogenetic field once they had entered manifestation. The root race 3 Lemanian / Lumerian and root race 4 Elanian / Atlantean souls of the second and third seeding could not reincarnate into the fifth air and root race, and became trapped in time within the second, third, and fourth dimensions. Following death, these events could not be allowed to transpire, as they were set to occur. The explosion of Earth would cause tragic consequences for Earth, Tara, and numerous other star systems. The lost souls of Tara, whom the Guardians had so painstakingly nurtured and protected for the past 550 million years, would once again be fragmented and left with no evolutionary blueprint to follow. The Rigelian and Vushi confrontational force between Guardians and the Draco Zeta resistance during Earth's most vulnerable period would destroy the planetary balances of Earth. So the Guardians had to turn to high spiritual technology in order to shift the course of events as they were evolving on Earth. In 1984, Guardian groups from Harmonic Universe 1, Harmonic Universe 2, and Harmonic Universe 3 joined together to create the Bridge Zone Project. The basic idea behind the Bridge Zone Project involves shifting Earth completely out of Harmonic Universe 1 time cycle, an event that would not occur naturally until the second morphogenetic wave of the second ascension cycle, during the natural Dorea Deshi in 4230 AD. Since the Guardians could not move the Draco Zeta resistance out of the way of Earth's intended evolution, They would instead move Earth out of the way of the Draco Zeta resistance. The Guardians would construct an artificial time continuum between the third and fourth dimensions, into which Earth could pass in 2017. This constituted orchestrating a forced Dorea Deshi, 2,213 years ahead of its natural schedule. In order for the Draco Zeta resistance frequency fence to work in 2003 through 2004 AD, they had to transmit very specific EM pulses at very specific angles through the Earth's grid. The Zetas had worked since 1943 to decipher the appropriate calculations to use for the projections of their EM pulses. If the Merkaba fields of Earth were rapidly accelerated, which would constitute a planetary leap in time cycles from the harmonic universe 1/D3 cycle to bridge zone D3.5 cycle of the inner Earth, between D3 and D4, the Zetas Draco's calculations would be useless. The Earth's grid speed would be increased to a level that the frequency fence EM pulses could not reach. The Draco Zeta resistance would not have enough time to decipher new calculations, and once Earth was stabilized in the bridge zone D3.5 continuum and under full Guardian protection, the Draco Zetas could not successfully launch an infiltration. Furthermore,